The 2022 NFL draft is now over, and I want to talk about those teams that saw value on the board, and they were like, I sees ya, I wants ya, and I'm gonna haves ya. That's right, we're talking about my draft steals, but what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro, and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead, get into the nitty gritty. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion, but I want to start with Travis Jones, man. I couldn't believe this cat fell past the second round. It blew my mind. And when the Ravens were on the board, I was like, oh yeah, man, the Ravens have been taking value all draft. This is Travis Jones. And it was, in fact, Travis Jones. He's a big, meaty boy who, a bit raw in terms of his pass rushing toolbox, but the dude wins. The dude wins. He's strong. He's quick. 13% of body fat. And that man's like, what, 326? What did he weigh at on his pro day? 326, 13% body fat. Yeah, he's a strong boy. I thought he had the potential to maybe sneak into the first round. But for the most part, I had a second round grade on him. He was in my top 50 prospects. And pick 76 comes around and the Ravens are like, hey, let's double check. Is this cat still on the board? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know 31 other teams made mistakes. Well, to be fair, not a lot. Some of those teams didn't have a pick before pick 76. Dolphins, Raiders, Rams. Is what it is. But they saw Mr. Jones and they were like, we'll take Mr. Jones. All right, on to Zach Tom, a man with two first names. I could appreciate that. Out of Wake Forest, the Green Bay Packers snagged, who I think a guy that's probably going to be center, but has played tackle. He's probably going to be a good depth piece that they could nurture, that provides a lot of versatility. He played center the first 2 years of his career there at Wake Forest, but before moving to left tackle for the final 2 seasons, had a stellar game against Jermaine Johnson, a phenomenal athletic score, his RAS score through the roof, and I really thought he was going to be a center in the NFL, though some people are like, oh no, this dude could stick at tackle. To be fair, a lot of his physical measurements, they hit those thresholds, plus 33 plus inch arms and plus 300 pounds. So yeah, I think he could probably stick a tackle if they want to keep him there. But regardless, we're here to talk about value. I thought the NFL was going to be way higher on Zach Tom than I was. I thought I was lowballing it by having him at 99. He's there at 140. And like I said at the beginning, the Packers, they were like, I sees ya, I likes ya, I'm going to have ya. I think I said it a little differently at the beginning, to be fair. And honestly, I didn't put him on the list, but Sean Ryan was also a phenomenal addition. So I like that they really they brought in some good guys to develop on the offensive line. And then speaking of the offensive line, Bernhard Ryman falling to the Colts. If you're not new to the channel, you know I was mentioning how Evan Neal was flagged for like a medical red flag apparently at the combine, and a lot of that had to do with he was requested to have a checkup, a follow-up checkup, and he didn't do that. So, or a lot of it could have been spun. Anyway, it didn't hurt his draft stock nonetheless. Anyway, Bernhard Ryman had a similar flag where he did not come to a follow-up checkup. And I don't know if that hurt his stock. I just assumed the NFL hated him. It sucks. I kind of liked him. I actually moved him down my board right before the actual draft, because initially I think I had him at 21, and I moved him down 10 spots just because I hadn't done a bit of research on the reason for the medical red flag. And then he falls to 77 because the Colts, by the way, Colts had a ton of value. Gojo wants to come in here and talk. Oh, hello, my boy. I'm talking about Bernhard Ryman. I know you hate the Colts. He's a big Chiefs fan. What a mark. But Bernhard Ryman is a cat that just started playing essentially the tackle position 2 years ago. He was a former tight end, and a lot of people are going to look at his age. Maybe that's a big reason he fell. Like 24, just learned to play the tackle position. Thing is, he's played it exceptionally well. I thought he had a lot of the offensive linemen had a so-so Senior Bowl, and Bernhard Ryman included, but I thought he was one of the better looking guys. I think he's got very good movement skills. You'd be like, yeah, I could tell that guy used to be a tight end, but he's exceptionally strong. I really do think he is pro ready. You could plug and play him right now, and that's why the Colts, phenomenal pick, phenomenal value at 77. Oh, that's funny. It's a pick right after Travis Jones, who was also phenomenal value. And then Kobe Dean, dude, he fell, and a lot of y'all probably already know it's because of there was a lot of medical concerns. A lot of people already assumed that he might fall because of a lack of size and being there 5'11", lack of length. There were questions about his athletic profile. Some people didn't think he was nearly as fast as he appeared on tape. A lot of it was probably just because he recognizes the play fairly quickly and he moves on it pretty early, and they contribute to that. Like, no, he just reacts exceptionally fast. But you got something to say? You don't want to talk about the Eagles? Gojo out there just peeking. But he was unable to perform at his pro day and the combine because I think it was a pec issue. There were some shoulder concerns. It was just a laundry list of medical concerns that it's why it probably took him off some teams' boards. I still had him at 34 because you know what? He's a hell of a player. And to be fair to those teams that maybe took him off their board, a lot of times it's like, yeah, you can have all the potential in the world, but the most valuable trait someone can have is availability. So there are those concerns, but no denying how talented a guy like Nakobe Dean is. Going at 83 was an absolute steal. On to Perrion Winfrey out of Oklahoma. Had him at 58 on my big board. He goes at 108 to the Cleveland Browns. Exceptional value. It was kind of a weird pick to the Browns because I thought they needed to get bigger guys. Instead, they get a guy his weight has fluctuated from like 290 to where he was weighing 303 at his pro day. And he's a lot of upper body. He's more of this penetrating 3-tech. He's very strong upper body, strong hands, powerful hands, hits like a brick. Very explosive. Like, it's a lot of good things. Like, he had a hell of a Senior Bowl week. This is why a lot of people pushed him up their boards. But rumor is he fell because a lot of teams just didn't like his tape. And to be fair, you always got to bring context into this because freaking Oklahoma, these Big 12 teams running their stupid 3-man fronts, you playing a guy like Perrion Winfrey at nose tackle. That's not going to be his position in the NFL. And I can see why the NFL probably didn't like his tape. And that's why I think he performed better at the Senior Bowl playing at a position that he's going to be playing. So yeah, that sounded like that was a big reason he fell. Regardless, it's great value. It was a great player for the Browns to pick up, even though I thought they should have probably got someone who's more of this, has more of an anchor, more of this run stopper. But there's no denying he's a hell of a player, and I don't mind the Browns for taking that. Matthew Butler, let's talk more 3-tech penetrators. Had him at 112 on my big board, goes at 175. And the Raiders snacked him up. I said snacked. Snatched him up. I believe the other cat that they got was Neil Farrell, correct? Who is more of a penetrating nose tackle, which I like this. They kind of secured the outside with guys like, obviously they got Max Crosby, and then they brought in Chandler Jones. So now that they're getting some fierce pass rushers there on the interior. Please, yes, Las Vegas Raiders. I was about to say, please tell me where he Okay, I put his name into Google and I was like, where's it? Well, what team did he go to? Tell me. But Matthew Butler, very nice. Had a hell of a Shrine Bowl. Showed that he was the best defensive lineman there throughout the whole week. Very explosive. Plays with an exceptionally high motor. Good length as well. Coming in with them 33.5-inch arms. Tested under a 5-second 40. You might worry about his anchor, his play strength, overall balance. But, I mean, you're immediately throwing this guy on third downs like, hey, my dude, go get after it. You see that quarterback? The quarterback is... I want you to come after him like he talked crap about Jada Smith. It's an old joke. Say it's an old joke. I mean, what? It happened like a month ago. It's still a funny joke. It's funny. It's so funny. Chris Rock, you funny. And then I got Tyrique Woolen. Oh, man. What a pickup. I was going to put Bo Melton up on here, but I just consider a perimeter corner, an outside corner, a lot more valuable than a slot receiver. Because, to be fair, like the NFL, and I kind of agree with this, those guys are kind of a dime a dozen. There's a lot of good players that can play in the slot, while it's hard to find those guys that can play on the outside. And I would dare to say corner might be the most valuable position on defense. And they get a very good project in Tyrique Woolen, a guy with ridiculous measurements. I had him at 72 on my big board just because of just how insane he could be if he could achieve that potential. He goes at 153, exceptional value. But let's talk about the measurements. 6'4", 205. His wingspan was a hot 33 and 5/8. He ran a 4.26. I talked about this I'm gonna talk about this depending on what order I put the videos out. But when it came to Velus Jones at the Senior Bowl, they were like, all right, go lock him up. And Velus Jones couldn't get off the line. Tyrique Woolen was like, oh, that's cute. You're staying here. He literally put him in timeout. However, when they were like, all right, Woolen, play a few steps off. Play a little bit of off coverage. He got the work. Shiftier receivers are going to give him a problem. That's why I think he's fallen into a very good situation there with Seattle. It's a scheme that complements him very well. Actually, him and Kobe Bryant. So, yeah, Seahawks kind of knocked it out the park with their draft. Just saying. And then my boy Leo Chanel going to the Chiefs at 103. Y'all know he was linebacker 1 in my class. Y'all know that I was probably higher than the overall consensus, and I kind of saw him. It sounded like the NFL would kind of consider him in a day 2 value, mid day 2. So I assumed he'd come off the board late second, if not early to mid third, and he falls to the end of the third round at 103. Exceptional value. This cat is strong. He's typically not the cup of tea that I like at linebackers, but linebacker is, I think, easily the toughest position to evaluate. And along with some of my hits, I have plenty of misses, and it's kind of hard to tell, man, what type of linebacker will succeed in the NFL, because I'm typically a sucker for these athletic types that are just crazy good in coverage, and not all those guys succeed pretty well. You know, if you could, like, I think honestly, like, the best skill set to translate a linebacker is just someone that knows how to play in space, play within their assignment, and make tackles underneath. And I think Chanel could be that guy. Like, Peter Werner came in, he was in a very similar scheme to where the linebackers are very protected in coverage at Ohio State, and then tested out way better than I anticipated because we just didn't get to see that athleticism on tape. And the same was kind of true for Chanel. I mean, I thought he was going to be impressive in terms of his strength. Like, I thought he was going to kill the bench, which he did. 34 on the bench. Congratulations. But running a 5'4", 340 at 250 pounds, the 40.5 inch vert, the sub 7-second three cone. I just didn't expect that. Looking at those numbers, like, okay, this guy isn't going to be, I don't think he's going to be a liability in coverage based on those athletic testing scores. But how strong he could play around the line of scrimmage, like this dude was jamming offensive linemen. Like he could legit control those guys at the point of attack. He was clogging C and B gaps. Like he's going to be a very good like 2-down run stuffer that has that capability to play on third down in passing situations. I like that. Y'all know I liked him a lot. And the Chiefs had one of the I think I said this when we were talking about the Ravens, but the Chiefs and the Ravens, they had easily the best drafts of any team out there. And then Darien Beavers, I was surprised. I had him as an early 4th, and he ends up going at 182. And honestly, that was like, this was the Giants' final pick, and I thought it was their best pick among day 2 and day 3. This cat, I think he's fine if you drop him back in a hook zone. He's got length that'll clog passing lanes, but he brings a good pass rush and upside. It was real surprising to see him fall like he did. I had him just in my top 197. And yeah, man, the Giants, after a stellar day 1, had a few picks I questioned on day 2 and day 3, but I think their last pick was by far their best. Beavers is definitely going to be very solid there and can contend for playing time fairly early. Former edge rusher, by the way, when he was at UConn before he transferred to Cincinnati and became a linebacker. And then finally, we got to end this. No. I still got 2 guys on this list. Kingsley and Nagbari. I thought I was going to end with probably one of my favorite guys. Ends up falling to the Packers at 179. I had him at 65 on my big board. I get why he fell. I don't get why he fell so hard. Listen, he doesn't have the bend. He doesn't have the juice of some of these other edge rushers in this class. But you can't deny how good he was in the SEC against top-tier competition. His hands are violent. His length, incredible. I think he has 34-inch arms. Let me go confirm. 34 and 3/4. It's even better than I thought it was. He knows how to use leverage. There are concerns with him with his technique overall. He can run a bit hot and cold, not in terms of effort, but he can disappear on plays because he's just not technically refined, and he gets taken out of plays, and he's a bit of a bull in a china shop. So I understood why he fell, and I thought he would have been plucked early 4th round once he fell out of day 2. Nah, that wasn't the case. He falls to the Packers at 179. They get a hell of a player there in my boy Kingsley Nagbari. And now my final guy on the list is Jamar Sawyer. I gotta mention this cat because not my cup of tea when it comes to blockers. I'm a sucker for athleticism, and admittedly, it's a weakness when it comes to evaluating offensive linemen for me. Outside linebacker, which I think that's everyone's toughest evaluation, I would say offensive line is one of my tougher ones. Sorry, not familiar with the position. I'm well, not like hands-on. I'm a hot like 160, 170 on a good day. So not familiar with the position. But Jamar Sawyer, he's a phone booth blocker. Played tackle majority of the time last year at Georgia, though it was like tackle in technically it was tackle, but he always had a tight end or 2 tight ends on his side. So basically he was playing guard, but he has plenty of experience playing other different positions there on the offensive line there at Georgia. So he comes into the Senior Bowl, he slides in to guard, and he looked stellar. The dude's just stupid strong. There is a bit of waist bending when it comes to him that he could get bent back. I think that more has to do with his footwork and setting a more firm, more wide and more heavy base. But I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. And I thought the NFL would love this cat. I had him at 77, and I thought that was kind of lowballing him. I thought he'd go higher than that. 195 Chargers. Hell of a job. And it begs the question, like, honestly, like, if they have injuries, that's great depth. That's great depth there in Sawyer. If they want to maybe move Zion Johnson to right tackle, they can do that because they could play Sawyer at right guard. I don't know if I don't think Johnson is really going to be a tackle in the NFL though. So if anything, this is great depth with Sawyer. Like, it puzzled me that he fell so far. It puzzled me that his teammate Justin Schaefer went ahead of him when Sawyer's just, I think, so talented, just so strong. Like, legit, his punches, his pops, they're deafening. Wild. But good job to all the teams that made it on the list. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing as always. Until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.